What's up, guys? My name is Nick, and this is PRS for Beginners. So in this video, I want to cover grouping and zeroing and rifle marksmanship. Start off by saying, God bless our troops and God bless America. So the first topic I want to get into is grouping and zeroing. So you just got a new rifle, you just got a new scope. How do we put this together? So I have my SIG here just as an easier demonstration. So the way I do it is, but we're going to get into the fundamentals of marksmanship next. But I want to talk about grouping and zeroing first, kind of go over it quick. So you have a new rifle, new scope, and how do we get it on paper? So what I do is, I get my bolt out. And when I'm at the range, make sure everything is safe and no one's downrange when you do this. I'll take a look through my scope, or through my bore, excuse me. And I'll set this up, and I'll use like that bag we spoke about where I set the rifle up and it doesn't move and it's stable. And I'll look through my bore, and I'll make sure my rifle's level as well. And I'll pick a spot on paper, and I'll get a black marker, make it a little bigger, easier to see. And I'll line that up perfect, and I'll put my bag underneath, and I'll let it sit. Then I'll look through my scope, and I'll do the same thing. I'll make all my adjustments and get it on that black dot. So what I like to do is, and people have different methods, is I'll take 3 shots. So I'll have a group of markers in different colors, usually red, green, blue. And I'll take my 3 shots first, and I'll mark those 3 shots in red. That makes sense. I'll take another 3 shots, mark those in green. Another 3 shots, mark those in blue. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm separating that grouping. Or I'm separating that from using color coordination. And what I'll do is I'll start making my adjustments after that. So I'll kind of walk that into the center of the target. You'll take your measurements, whatever type of measurements you're using on your optic, and you'll walk it in. And then you'll take your final 3 shots, and so on and so forth. But I like to use multiple colored markers, mark everything, and walk it in. So that's getting your rifle and your scope together and getting it on paper. So now we focus on our fundamentals, which is the most important thing. And now we're going to see where our shots are landing and how our fundamentals are working with our shooting. So once we get on target, we're going to use our fundamentals. Our breathing, our grip, our steady positioning, sight picture, trigger control, our follow through, breathing, all these play a huge factor into our zeroing our rifle, grouping and zeroing. So we want to get 3 to 5 shots in a tight grouping. They say under 1 MOA or under 1 MOA, which is 1 minute of angle. So at 100 yards. So we want to get a tight grouping. And how do we accomplish that? With good fundamentals. So the fundamentals of marksmanship. These could be interpreted differently by different trainers, different leadership in the military, or just all across the board could be interpreted differently, but it's the same concept. So I wanted to break this down kind of for a new shooter into PRS and blend that in using the fundamentals. Not only just, getting into it as a new shooter, but, kind of help you both aspects of shooting. So the first topic I wanted to go over was the steady positioning. So one thing I kind of failed to mention was comfortability behind the rifle. So I have my Armageddon bag here. So I'm going to place it behind the rifle, and I'm going to get behind it. And once my grouping, my zeroing is all accomplished, I want to be comfortable when I'm getting behind it. I don't want to force myself. I don't want to fight it. I don't want to build tension. I just want to get behind my rifle and sit there and get the same position and achieve the same position each time. So when I get behind my rifle, I want to drop my face and I'm on target and I'm comfortable. And I can see down the scope, there's no blacking around it, or I'm in the spot I always want to be, right? So a good thing to practice is closing your eyes, dropping your face, and then opening your right eye or your left eye or whatever dominant eye you are, or however you get behind the rifle to shoot. So what I like to do just to feel comfortable and achieve the same position is close my eyes, drop my face down, and then open up and see where I'm at. Now, if I got to make adjustments, because right here I'm comfortable, then I'll adjust the comb, adjust the buttstock, whatever I got to do to accomplish that, and then keep doing that until I'm comfortable. So it kind of falls into steady positioning, right? So we want to build a steady position where we're not moving around, not adjusting our face. We're behind the rifle comfortable each time, and it doesn't take much effort to do that. So we're just dropping down and we're on target, right? We don't got to make any adjustments here. We don't got to make any adjustments here, nothing here. It's just easy. You drop right in. So I believe this should fall under steady positioning, right? Because we want to build that steady position. Another thing I wanted to talk about was grip. So with like an AR-15 or an M4, I always gripped like this. So a lot of the training I received, the grip is more like this. So why is it like that? So when we take our shot, we don't want any tension on that rifle. We don't want to force, we want to let the rifle do its thing. We want to let it sit on something. We want to let it, the bipods do the work. We don't want to put any weight into this. There's no tension, it's just very casual, and you get behind the trigger and you pull it. So this, to me, actually is a lot more comfortable, and I get a way better shot than I do like this. Because when I grip it like this, I'm kind of forcing the rifle a certain way. So this, I'm letting my body absorb the recoil, and I'm coming back and back into the target. I'm not manipulating the rifle anyway. But like this, I'm able to have a clean shot and a clean follow through without putting any tension on the rifle. Okay, so next is sight alignment and sight picture. So what does that mean? So I interpret it in a way of, if there's a target downrange, right? Am I going to point my rifle left of that target, right of that target? So I want to align my rifle to that target. So with PRS, it's a huge advantage to do that, and you save so much time by getting your rifle in line with that target, and you're getting sight alignment, and then when you get behind the rifle, you're going to get sight picture. So we want to have a clear picture of the target, right? So when I spoke about the powers on your rifle, I stay between 9 and 20. We want to be able to see that target clearly. So we could adjust our eye relief, right? We could adjust our parallax, and we could zoom in and out. But we want a clear picture of that target. We don't want to move our reticle and have this crossing. We want both of them to follow each other, and that means your reticle and your eye and the back of the target. So you want to see both like this in your optic, right? So what I learned in Ghost as well was kind of shake your head a little bit, and if both of them stay the same, you're good. But if one moves, you got to adjust parallax, or you got to make your adjustments. So sight alignment, sight picture, very important to be on target and achieve an accurate shot. So breathing. Breathing is by far the most important fundamental of rifle marksmanship. To me, anyway. So I believe your fundamentals as well as breathing starts before you go to the range, before you do a competition, before you do any type of shooting. It all starts before. So you have to put yourself in the right state of mind, and breathing achieves that, and that could go for pretty much anything in life, right? When you're in a difficult situation, breathing really helps. And that's why I love stress shooting so much, because your body's under pressure, and how do you control your pressure or control the pressure and achieve accurate shots? And that comes under breathing all the time. And controlling your breathing is the most important thing, because especially in difficult situations, PRS. I have an example when I was on deployment. Breathing will calm your body down, bring it to a natural state, and you'll achieve good shots, and you'll bring your body to its normal state. Because even when you start PRS, your heart's beating fast, you're nervous, you have anxiety, or you're excited. So taking deep breaths and getting through it is the most important thing. So I think breathing is by far the most important thing with shooting, and I think a lot of shooters will agree with me on that. So how do we use our breathing? So when I get up to a target, and I see these PRS shooters, they are awesome, and I've shot with some of the guys that they clear stages and blow me out of the water. But I try to take a step back and work on my fundamentals, and a big thing is breathing. I notice that I get excited, and I'm having a lot of fun, and my breathing gets all out of whack. So I sometimes have to just take a step back and work on my breathing. So when I get up to a prop, I take a deep breath, I let it out, another deep breath, and then I get into it. So what they teach you in the military with your breathing is deep breath in, deep breath out, deep breath in, deep breath out, natural pause, take the shot. So my SIG has a 2-stage trigger. So what does that mean? So I could bring this trigger back to a wall and then set up my shot. And then when I pull it next, or squeeze it, I know when that round's going to go off. So I like 2-stage triggers, because you can work on your fundamentals and you work that into your trigger. So for example, I'll take a deep breath, breathe out, breathe in. Now I'm holding that trigger down, and as I exhale and hold that natural pause, I pull the trigger. I squeeze the trigger. So that's the reason why I do like 2-stage triggers. because you build that into your fundamentals. But breathing by far is the most important. So especially when grouping and zeroing, you could tell when you pull a shot, you could tell when your breathing's off. I mean, it's a very clear indicator. And you don't want to hold your breath for too long and then your eyes start shaking and you get real uncomfortable. It just comes naturally. So the more you work on breathing and shooting, the better you're going to be. And I'm still working on, getting better with competitive shooting, and I'm watching guys as I shoot and seeing what they're doing. They're going right into positions, and all those are their fundamentals are just on point. And I know what I have to work on, and I know breathing is definitely one of them, to get behind the rifle and work on that. But for sure, breathing is important. So if you could work on that and just at home with your rifle and practice your breathing, get behind it, same, close your eyes and open and, work on those fundamentals, you're going to get better. This is for new shooters, and this is for people that want to work on just bettering their rifle marksmanship. Definitely start with your breathing. It's a big factor in shooting. So another part of marksmanship, rifle marksmanship, is trigger control. Trigger control, squeezing the trigger. I know I said pulling and different words for it, but it's bad to use those terms, and just squeezing, right? Squeezing is a term that is used. So what is squeezing? So we don't want to pull a trigger. We don't want to yank it. We want to squeeze it. We want to put the tip of our finger on that. We want to get the most feeling, the most meat we can on it. And we want to squeeze it nice and know exactly where it's going to go off. The military teaches you is to be surprised when it goes off. And I learned from Tristan Russell, Griffin and Howe, you should know when that rifle or when that round is going to come out by pulling it or squeezing this trigger. I keep saying pulling. You should know. And I agree with that, for sure. I want to know when that round is coming out so I could set up my next one. So squeezing and knowing when that round is coming out is important in PRS, because I'm going to set myself up for my next shot, and I want to have a good follow through. So we're going to squeeze, and then we're going to let it off, and we're going to come back to it. So if we're engaging a target 2 to 3 times, we're using those fundamentals quickly, and we're building our positioning and our trigger squeeze, our breathing, all that. And we're just sitting behind our rifle and we're letting it do the work while we're doing our fundamentals, right? So we're squeezing, we're breathing, we're doing everything that we need to do to stay on that target. We don't want to veer off it. We don't want to lose our foundation that we built. So squeezing, trigger squeeze is another important aspect of our fundamentals. Okay, so now we follow through and we re-engage the target. So we use all our fundamentals and we re-engage. So the 2 to 3 times we got to hit that target at 600, 650, whatever it is. We want to build all those fundamentals so we could get clean and accurate shots. So one of the tricks we learned in the military was called the diamond washer drills. So I'm using a quarter for demonstration purposes. Not as good as I used to be, but so if you notice, I have a quarter sitting on my muzzle brake, right? So what we want to practice is using our fundamentals, right? We want to put our bolt in, dry fire, use our steady positioning, our grip, our sight alignment, sight picture, breathing, trigger control, squeeze, and follow through and re-engage without letting this quarter drop off the end of our muzzle brake. So it's good practice. Just, you're working on your fundamentals and making sure this doesn't drop, keeping the rifle in a steady position. Because essentially that's what you want. You don't want the rifle moving side to side. You don't want to move it up and down. You want to just stay on target, absorb the recoil, and re-engage. Absorb the recoil, re-engage. And using your fundamentals while you're breathing and everything falling into place, and just staying steady. And it's going to help you a lot. I do this once in a while. I do it at my table, and it definitely helps me in the off season, especially when I'm not shooting as much. It's good to dry fire and do all that. So that's really the end of this video. I really wanted to I kind of rushed through it a little bit, but overall it's the same idea, across the board. It's the same principles that people are going to teach you, and you're going to learn along the way. So try to get comfortable behind the rifle. It's very important. So just, if you're home, just get behind the rifle and work on your dry firing, right? So when you bolt, dry fire, adjust your scope, just write down on paper, all right, 3 mils. Make your adjustment, get behind the rifle, and just practice that. Work on different scenarios, and it's going to help you. Once you start getting into PRS shooting and all that, you could start using bag work, use chairs, and ladders are great. I have a ladder in the backyard that I use sometimes. Hopefully the neighbors don't see me and think I'm a nut job. But yeah, definitely practice, at a table or anything, and it definitely helps in the off seasons. And I try to do as much as possible. Diamond washer drills are great, and just running that bolt in and dry firing. It definitely gets you more familiar with your weapon systems. And I know we spoke about 2-stage triggers and the bag and setting everything up. But I like 2-stage triggers. So if you do come across one and you want to try it out, I highly recommend it. My Bergara doesn't have it, but this does, and I like the fact that I could kind of set myself up for a shot. Holding the bag too, that I didn't really go over. You could set the bag up different ways. So, and you could manipulate your bipods as well. But what I do is I squeeze this like so. And I could kind of let off it and punch it in a little bit. Or if I want to go down, I squeeze it. Want to come up, I let go. And so bag manipulation is another skill in itself that took me some time to get used to. But once you get the hang of this, it definitely will make your life a lot easier, especially with zeroing and all that. But yeah, bag manipulation is important. That should be a video in itself. But thank you for watching, and like I said, God bless our troops and God bless America, and thanks for watching. Back up a little bit so we get up.